Welcome to the Health Design Leadership Podcast with author, speaker, and leadership coach Carol Phillips. We're here to help you sharpen your leadership skills and discover the best ways to build great teams. So sit back and enjoy this episode of the Health Design Leadership Podcast with your host, Coach Carol.
Hello, leaders. I'm Carol Phillips. Thank you for joining us today. Learning positive leadership skills is crucial for creating a healthy and productive work environment because it sets the tone for respectful and supportive interactions among team members. A leader who focuses on being of service can inspire and motivate employees, leading to higher levels of engagement and commitment to the organization's goals. Additionally, positive leadership fosters a culture of open communication, collaboration, and problem solving, which are essential for a thriving, efficient, and inspiring workplace. Our special guest today embodies those great qualities and more. Christina Ferrari is an attorney and shareholder at Bernstein, Shur, Sawyer Nelson, PA, a northern New England regional law firm where she protects her clients' interests inside and outside the courtroom. A strategic litigator and trusted outside general counsel, Christina serves clients in a broad range of industries, especially those that are highly regulated. She has a depth of experience in complex commercial disputes, administrative law and regulatory compliance, life sciences law, and healthcare law. She is also a thought leader and frequent speaker on issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion in the legal profession. Christina is a past president of the New Hampshire Women's Bar Association. As we enjoy our conversation with Christina today, I encourage you to find one or two new leadership skills you can implement into your role beginning today. Now, let's chat with Christina. Welcome to the show, Christina.
Thank you, Carol. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you for spending time with us today. I want to start off by asking you to share with our listeners whatever you'd like regarding your journey to becoming the leader you are today.
Well, it's definitely been a journey, a little bit of a meandering path. I've spent the last 14 years or so now as an attorney, working in Manchester, New Hampshire. But before that, I actually was in biomedical research down in Boston and loved that. My research was in neuroscience, which is something that I studied in college and grad school and really loved. And I had planned to do my PhD and stay in biomedical research, hopefully in the same area, neuroscience. And I worked with animals. I worked with rats, which actually are wonderful creatures and I loved working with, but I became very allergic, which is a bit ironic because I first got into biomedical research as an undergraduate student, helping out a researcher who had gone through the same thing. She became super allergic and needed someone to work with the animals. So that's how I first got into it. But, you know, when you're surrounded by that 24/7 for a long time, apparently your immune system betrays you, and that's what happened. So for me, it just was, at the time, I thought bad luck because that was my path. That was my plan. And I had to figure out what to do next because I couldn't stay in that position and do the work I wanted to do. Tried everything to manage the reaction in my body, but couldn't. So I had to figure out what was next. And I had, I guess, the good fortune of, at that time when that was happening, running into an attorney at the hospital where my laboratory was that I was working in, who was in patent law and had a science background and was doing something different with it. And so I figured, okay, well, what the heck? Maybe I'll try that. And really had to pivot, figure out, how to become a lawyer. How do I apply to law school? I had no idea because my focus had been on something completely different. It was all about medicine and science, and I really had no idea what to do. So I just kind of studied up, took the LSATs, crossed my fingers and hoped for the best. And I was really lucky to be accepted to what was then Franklin Pierce Law Center. It's now UNH Law. And they had a top 10 patent law program. It's in this beautiful place in Concord, New Hampshire, and kind of packed up my stuff and came north. And I've been here ever since. And I love what I do now. So it really was a meandering path, and, it took me to a place I didn't expect, but really has been a wonderful journey and experience. And now I'm doing something that I never would have thought 30 something years ago. So ironically, also, I don't do patent law, but I ended up getting a taste of a different area of law in law school and really loved it. And that's what I do now. So a little bit of a journey, but really it ended up in the best place so far in my career.
That's so interesting. And I mean, you bring a lot of benefits to your new job as an attorney with all the things that you did before, but that's a really interesting story. And allergies can be funny, can't they?
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, before that, I never really, I had pets growing up, but never really had any issues. And it was just a weird, funny thing. We still couldn't figure out what happened, but it is what it is. I guess it was just what was meant to be. I was just a little sad because I really did like working with the animals that I was working with. And, even now I still can't be around animals with certain dander. It's amazing, but I guess your body just does what it needs to do. And it kind of overreacted and stayed that way.
Interesting. Wow. And it's funny the times we end up pivoting, that when we least expect it, these experiences make us resilient for future challenges that we have.
Yes.
We go through a disappointment, and especially if it's a significant disappointment, and then down the road we deal with something else and we think, oh, I've got this.
Right. Yes. Yeah,
I've got all the tools here.
Yes, it really is. Every experience really does add that tool to your toolbox, whether you like it or not. But, and at the time I was devastated and I didn't really know what to do. I felt kind of lost because I've been so focused on this one thing for so long. But honestly, it really was a great thing to happen, me looking back now, because it really did set me on my path that I'm in now and gave me, like you said, those tools of resiliency, being flexible, just trying to pick yourself up and keep moving forward, and being willing to try new things or learn about new things and see where that takes you.
Yes. And then ending up in a place where it's something else that we love that we never expected.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I really love what I do. I love learning. What I do now gives me an opportunity to learn new things every day and do new things every day, which is something I personally find fulfilling. So it definitely worked out the best. And some of my work is still in the life sciences as an attorney. And that's the stuff I love the most, because I can use really both sides of my brain in that work and get to learn about all the cool things and sciencey things that my clients are doing. So I get to be a little science nerd still in my job, which is good.
That's terrific. All right. Let's talk about leadership, and let's talk about the term open door policy. We hear leaders use this term all the time, but it's not always clear what that means exactly. And also, different leaders can have different definitions of what they consider to be an open door policy. What does that mean to you, and what are the benefits you see?
Yes, so you're absolutely correct that it means so much in terms of leadership, but it's defined differently and it means something differently for every person. And for me, in my current role, I'm what you call a shareholder, which really just means that, I'm a part owner of my law firm. I'm in the upper levels of our law firm. So I work with and manage, different members of our team, whether it's support staff or associate attorneys who are only a few years into their practice. It really varies. But for me, when I say I have an open door policy, it's something I really do live by in my work. And for me, it means any of my colleagues can hopefully feel comfortable coming to me with anything on their mind. For me, having an open door policy means I am there to serve them whenever they need anything. And most times it's really just having folks come in and sharing what's on their mind and me just being an active and empathetic listener. That's one of it's something I really value and something that I really try to do every single day to show that I'm there as a support and that I'm there for my colleagues in any way that they need.
I love that. It's all about flipping that switch from that old mentality of you get into a leadership position and it's, well, now I'm the boss and they need to be serving me versus I'm their leader. How can I best serve them so that they're successful?
Yes, absolutely. It really, I think that is an absolute essential quality in a leader, regardless of what organization you're in or whatever you're a leader in, because it really is about service to others. And for me, I really do want to be a resource, and I try to practice this as much as I can in my organization. I want to be a resource for folks and help them accomplish their goals or remove roadblocks that they're encountering in any way, and really support them as they're going on their journey and working through their career.
I agree. Another important aspect of open door policy, when I think about it, is we're treating everyone the same and we're treating everyone fairly as far as our open door policy. You know, it can't have one definition for certain people and then a different definition for other people, because people notice that and sense it, and then it kind of fractures the team.
Yes. No, I completely agree. Sometimes, not in my current organization, but when I first started my career, I was in different places. I really had this sense of, oh, there's a divide between different levels within the company or the firm, and there are certain people that are above me or the leaders or the big bosses that I shouldn't talk to or bother or go to. I felt like there was a separation, and I didn't like that, and it didn't help me get any mentorship or learn as much as I could have. And thankfully, we don't have that in our culture in my current firm at all. And we all work hard to make sure that everyone really is, we're all together in the same team. There is no divide between junior people or more senior people, or partners versus associates, or attorney versus non-attorney. I think it's really important to a culture, any culture in the workplace, to really have everyone feel like they're on the same playing field. There isn't that divide, and we're all just there to help each other and work as a team and be successful.
Right, absolutely. It creates a win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was a young attorney, most times if I were lucky enough to tag along with a more experienced attorney to court or something like that, I would end up carrying the boxes, which was fine. I was just glad to do something and be useful in that experience, whatever it was. So, carrying all the boxes of paper and binders and whatnot into court, I did. But I don't even like I'm very fortunate to work with some great people who, will start carrying my boxes. And I'm like, no, don't carry it. You don't have to carry it. Because even though at the time, as a younger attorney, I was glad to be of use, at a certain point in my career, a couple of years in, I wanted to do more than just carry the boxes. So even in that small little thing, I try really hard to just tell the folks on my team, like, you don't have to carry my binders or boxes. I got it.
Yes. The little things aren't always the little things, right? Because how we treat people really sends those messages, whether we view them on the same plane as us versus what are we doing that's making them feel lesser than.
Right.
Yeah.
Everyone has something to contribute that's valuable, right? Even if you're a few years into your career or not. That's why having that team approach and really that open door policy or that open culture is so critical, because everyone has something to contribute and learn from.
Christina, I believe building strong work relationships with all team members can reduce problems and create a more productive and successful work environment. I know this is a topic that's important to you. Please share with us your feelings on this topic and why it's important for new leaders to prioritize relationship building?
Oh my gosh, yes, that is critical. I love that you asked about new leaders because whatever leadership position you're coming into, it's going to be stressful, right? It's something that's new. Maybe, you haven't managed people before, or maybe this is a new management role with different duties and responsibilities, or maybe the amount of people that you're managing and working with is larger than before. So coming into a new role, it's absolutely critical to really take the time to get to know the folks that you're working with, the team at all levels, everybody from the top to the bottom. And it's hard to do because getting that time to really have a sit down or a conversation where you're really focused on getting to know each and every person, what they like or don't like, how they best work or not, things that they may see in the workplace that they would like to have different or change, or things that are working really well. I mean, you can cover so much ground and learn so much information that's really going to help you in your role and really help the team as a whole. But it's hard to do that because you're probably working really hard. There's probably all these things on your plate, but it will serve not only you well, but also the rest of your team really well to do that. It's valuable information. I've tried to do that every time I'm working with someone I haven't worked with before, or we have a new team member, and it's always worthwhile. Not only do you get to learn from them because they've probably been doing really good work, or, are in another role that's really critical and they are really subject matter experts. So you learn a lot from them, but you also really do start making those relationships that are authentic. When times are tough, if you're working on a tough project or something is very time sensitive, having those strong bonds and being able to really know the folks that you're working with on your team is very important. That's how you're going to be successful. But it takes that time. You have to be intentional about it. It's hard when you have a lot of things on your plate.
Yes, for sure. Once we get to know people better, the more comfortable they feel around us, the more likely they are going to be to speak up if they're struggling with something or they need to share something. It can be as simple as remembering to greet people in the morning and say, "Hey, how are you doing?" And then really listening to their answer.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. That really listening part is important because, we're all busy, and sometimes I fall into this trap too. You say, "Oh, hey, how are you?" And the other person will say, "Good." "And you?" "Yeah, good." "Okay." And then you go on your merry way. I sometimes fall into that trap when I'm running around and trying to keep all the plates spinning in the air, but I'm trying to make sure that doesn't happen, because those little check-ins are really quality time and valuable time, and can make not only me, but my team members feel invested in what we're all working hard on during the day. And it's nice. Most of what I do during the day, whether it's for clients or with my colleagues, is really just interacting with people. And I love people. That's, why I'm doing what I'm doing in a lot of ways. So it fulfills me, but it also helps us all be successful. And it's important to just ask about things outside of work if they feel comfortable, like hobbies, or I always ask people what they're reading in terms of books, if I know they like to read, because I'm always looking for books. But, getting to know people personally, not just work related, can be really great too. And I'm fortunate I have really like a second family in my office, and sometimes I see them more than I see my actual family. And it's good to have those bonds during those times.
Yes, for sure. It creates a wonderful foundation.
Mm-hmm. And you're right. It's like a chain reaction. When you have those relationships, it really does feed into a very positive culture, and having that openness with each other and being able to rely on each other and share with each other.
Yes. And I like to try to remember to ask open questions, or remember something that they've told me. If they were excited, if they told me on Friday they were excited to go see a movie over the weekend, then on Monday, "Hey, how was the movie?" How does that not make people feel seen and appreciated because you remembered?
Right.
They know you were paying attention. That just helps to build those better relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. I try to remind myself of, what in my career so far has made me feel seen and valued. And then I try to, replicate that for somebody else if I can, and treat everyone that I'm working with how I have found to be treated well in the past, and really try to pay that forward as much as I can.
Yes, and you do. You do a wonderful
No,
job.
thank you. That's
1000,
very kind.
1000%. Christina, we've all had experiences where leaders in the workplace either positively or negatively affect the daily culture due to their attitude and spirit that they bring into the room. Please talk to us about why this is important to you, and specifically, what are the benefits for all the team members?
Yeah. I'm sure we've all had an experience, in our lives where we are just working a job that either you're working with a boss that just is a jerk, quite frankly, or you just feel like you're just a worker bee and nobody really cares, much about you as a person. I've had those experiences. Thankfully, they're few and far between, but I remember them. And I'm sure a lot of the listeners have had those experiences as well. This goes back to culture. Culture is everything, and it really is all about the people, right? And so if you have a leader in your organization that just is one of those either jerks or just has this I'm the boss, I'm better than you, whatever it may be mentality, it really does trickle down and affects everybody and is really counterintuitive. And I try very hard. And I think, one of the crucial things about leadership is really fostering that team attitude and that team spirit, where for me, I try to exhibit that by pitching in whenever something needs to be done. Like if a colleague needs help, I try to just jump in and do what I can to help them, even if it's just, for example, like making copies or putting together a binder or running through, my work, like an argument that they're going to be presenting in court the next day, whatever it needs to be, from the most menial to the most, I guess, tricky thing that needs to be done. And I think that what I've seen in my career so far is seeing other people do that, especially the leaders or the upper levels of management, really fosters that in other people in the organization. So that it's, again, that culture where everyone will pitch in whenever something needs to be done and really help each other. And I really think that's super important because it makes sure that people feel valued and that they can be themselves, especially if they have to ask for help or they need help. They won't feel ashamed or, hesitant to do so, and that they belong and that we're all there to support each other. I think that is a crucial part of culture. And it's tough sometimes when, especially being remote part-time, it's still something that, we do. And a lot of my friends and a bunch of different workplaces still do this hybrid or remote time, but keeping that connection and still fostering the pitching in and helping everyone is something that can be done even remotely, but it just takes extra effort.
Yes, I totally agree. When those leaders are less than kind, it goes right down to our psychological safety. Our brains automatically put that wall up because we want to protect ourselves. And then we're not going to be as productive. We're not going to be as likely to speak up if we have an issue, as opposed to a workplace where everybody is being kind and they feel psychologically safe and they're helping each other. It gets back to what we were talking about earlier, where you're having that attitude of, I'm here for you instead of you're here for me.
Yes. Oh, I'm so glad you said that. And that it really is that psychological safety. There's nothing worse than feeling, just speak for myself, feeling overwhelmed, overworked, not valued, whatever it may be, finally asking for help and getting a response that not only isn't helpful, but makes you feel judged or ashamed or, whatever those negative feelings may be. Once you finally get up the courage to ask for help, it just makes, it's like kicking someone when they're down, it just perpetuates that feeling of not feeling valued or seen or safe. And that can really wear on somebody. And the work that we do every day is difficult enough and, stressful enough, and we all work hard. You don't need that in the mix on top of it. I think that's where folks get burnt out and their health gets put into jeopardy. And like you said, those feelings of not feeling psychologically safe really stick with you. And life's too short for that. We can do a much better job of our cultures and leaders by, paying attention to those things and really trying to make sure that doesn't happen and creep into the workplace.
Yes, and especially when it's coming from somebody in a position of authority and that it's tolerated. When it's tolerated, that reinforces that feeling of this is not a safe environment for me to open up and feel vulnerable and ask for help. And so then people are just closed off from each other and they're not even going to begin to form those great relationships where you get all those benefits. So thank you so much for sharing all that great information. Christina, do you have a particular success story you'd like to share with our listeners today?
I think I mentioned I'm like 14 years into my career, and I will confess I'm a workaholic and one of those driven people that just, for whatever reasons, I'm like, okay, what's the next level? Let's strive for that. What's the next thing? Let's strive for that. I've always been able to, fortunately, work really hard and keep pushing myself in the limits and, work nights and weekends and really to improve myself, especially, in the legal profession. Legal profession is wonderful. I love what I do. I wouldn't want to do anything else at this point, but it's a difficult profession, long hours, a lot of stress. Being a female litigator in my profession, I'm still one of the only women in the room, amazingly. There's not a lot of us. There's many that, start out a couple of years, but mid-career, those numbers start to drop off. And it's, something that I was always committed to working super hard and being like, that's not going to be me. I'm going to make it, and I'm going to just work, and prove myself. And I'll just keep moving up the ladder, so to speak. And that happened. I worked super hard and pushed myself and what have you. But I have to say, the last 2 years or so, I hit this wall of burnout that I've never hit before. And I didn't expect to encounter that in this stage of my career. I thought I'd be really superwoman and not have anything affect me. But, as we get older, not as resilient, I guess, as, used to be. And also, I didn't appreciate how much that takes a toll, right? And it builds up.
Yes.
And you can't just recover, a few hours here and there. You can't let yourself get to that point. So, that's something I've been dealing with and trying to recover from. It really threw me for a loop, honestly. And so the positive from going through that experience, as painful as it was, because, once I hit that wall, even trying to push through it, my body wouldn't let me. I was pretty useless from a productive standpoint for a little bit there, even trying to push through it and keep up with my workload and my responsibilities and commitments to my clients was difficult. And that felt even worse, not being able to perform at the level that I had before because my body just couldn't do it. It's a humbling experience. And so,
yes, we're not in control all the time.
Right. And I like being into control as much as I can. And professionally, it's something I try to do for my clients. And you just learn that you can't be in control and you're just going to have to take a break. Then the positive of that is I learned that lesson and have been really intentional about focusing on my health and my well-being, which not just the legal profession that struggles with that. I'm sure there's so many other professions and industries where that is a huge problem as well. But I have to confess, I didn't focus on that and I paid the price for that. So now I'm really trying to make well-being and taking a break and not pushing myself part of my regular practice. And it's really about building up endurance and taking care of yourself so that you don't get into that situation. You really can be a productive employee, a great colleague, whatever it may be, and take care of yourself. It's like when you're on an airplane and you're being told to put your mask on first before you put a mask on somebody else. And it really is true. You can't do much for other people if you're not taking care of yourself. So it was a good thing to learn, and it's something that I'm really trying to focus on. And I'm trying to tell my colleagues to focus on too, so they don't end up hitting that wall like I did.
Yes. You reminding your colleagues, you're helping them so that they're not going to go through what you went through. But yes, and isn't it funny how, sometimes we try to push through when our brains and bodies are screaming at us to slow down. And it reminds me of that saying, if you don't make time for wellness, you're going to have to deal with illness.
Yes, that is so true. And I just, in the past, just kind of ignored those warning signs. It's just like, okay, if I just get past this next week, it'll be easier and I'll, recover. And, for a long time that was true. But at some point, just getting past that next week just never happens. Just the work is going to fill whatever space you give it, right? And yeah, you can't ignore the warning signs after a while. You have to just take a step back. And I feel bad because I feel like a nagging parent sometimes with my colleagues now. I'm like, okay, I noticed you were here late last night. You need to maybe take some time today or in the next few days, take a half day off or don't work as late or, what do you need? How can we help you so that you're not having to work so hard and things like that. I feel a bit like a nagging parent, but I try not to nag, but I do point it out when I can.
That's definitely not nagging, because employees and colleagues love leaders who encourage us to take care of ourselves instead of them pushing us to the burnout, right? When we're trying to take care of ourselves. The other thing that I've learned just recently, I've been in the wellness field for a long time and had a health scare a few years ago. And I realized that when we're thinking about how stressed we are, in general in our lives, we're only tapping into our conscious mind. That's our, barometer, but we don't know what's going on subconsciously, what's really going on with us and with our stress. And I learned that I had to work extra hard to have that good balance so that I wasn't having my stress higher than I even realized consciously. So thank you so much for sharing. That's great information, and congratulations on turning that ship around into a better direction.
Thank you. It's still a work in progress, but doing much, much better at it. And it really is part of my everyday routine. And honestly, keeping that focus on health and wellness has made me much better at my day to day. Just because you take care of yourself and make part of that your daily life doesn't mean you're not good at your job or not a good performer or not a good employee. It means the opposite. It means that you're going to be even better.
Yes. We're all a work in progress every day, right? We're all succeeding or learning.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, Christina, it's time for Coach Carol's quick quiz.
Oh, I'm ready. Okay.
Yay, she's ready to rock and roll.
I think. I don't know.
Nice. I'm going to throw some questions at you just for fun, and so our listeners can learn more about you. There's 5 questions. Give me the first thing that comes to mind. Question 1. What's your favorite meal to eat that you don't have to cook?
That I don't have to cook. Oh my gosh, this is so hard. I love food. So there's like a bunch of different things that are just coming into my mind, honestly. I really love, I'm gonna break the rules right away, and I apologize. Because 2 things are really sticking out to me. I really love a great cheeseburger, like very cheesy, greasy, slightly charred cheeseburger. And I really love a very good steak. I know they're both meat centric, I don't eat meat all the time, but for some reason those are really sticking out in my mind right now.
Yeah, there's those meals where you're like, oh, I would love this right now, but I do not want to do all the work, or I don't have the ingredients here. And you go to a restaurant and it's like, oh, I'm going to order this because I've been wanting it and I just do not want to have to prepare it myself.
Oh my gosh, yeah, and I can't prepare either one of those well. So, I'm more than happy to go out to eat either one of those with some of my favorite restaurants who are just, experts at it.
Nice. All right. Question number 2. What's your least favorite part about preparing for vacation?
I honestly, this goes back to what I was talking about before. I need to be better about taking vacations, but I dread it because for some reason, there's never enough time to get ready. I always have this illusion that right before I go on vacation, there's going to be a point where everything that needs to be taken care of is done. And there's nothing that's, popping up at the last minute that I need to try to get taken care of before I go on vacation. That's never true. No matter what I do, I can never get to that point. So right before vacation is always chaos and mayhem
Yes.
and, yeah,
Isn't that
stress.
so unfair? It's so counterproductive, right? And
Yes.
I totally get it because I'm the type of person that I want to come home to a clean house. So I want everything
Mm-hmm.
clean before I leave. But with me, it's the packing. I'm so bad at packing because I want to take everything. And
Oh, yeah.
I have a hard time paring it down to something that's reasonable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been better about that lately. I just, throw like, because I always bring too much too, and then I'm lugging it back and forth. So I've been trying to just throw like as few things as I can in the bag.
Mhm.
But yeah, trying to get all the things done, whether it's, in the personal life or most often work before I leave. So I'm not doing it on vacation, which is what I usually end up doing. I usually end up working during some of my vacation. And, part of that wellness plan that I was talking about earlier is really trying to not work on vacation at all and really be unavailable, not checking email, not taking meetings, not working on something, like just being completely off the grid if I can. That's been crucial, but it's hard.
Yes, it's hard. It's hard, but it really is like you were saying, it is important for our wellness to really take that break and remind ourselves that everything isn't critical and necessary.
Yes.
Our health is more important.
And
Okay,
it'll be there when you get back. Yeah.
yes, yes. Number 3, what gives you a great belly laugh?
Oh, what gives me a great belly laugh? I have to say, my son, he is hilarious. He's in middle school and he is just unintentionally funny. He just, the way he's telling stories is usually about his day or something that he read about, whatever, but he just is a very clever, witty person. And I usually find myself having those belly laughs with him and just spending time with him.
That's terrific. That's priceless. I love that. All right, number 4. Would you rather attend a music concert or a Broadway play?
Mm, oh, it's a tough one. I have to say a Broadway play, although I like both, but I think Broadway play. I just I don't get to go to them very often, like plays in general.
Hmm.
I think I've only been to Broadway once actually. I need to do that more, but I just love seeing I don't know a show like that. I like seeing the sets and the costumes and seeing people just transform into different characters and kind of getting lost in that. It's something very fun that I need to do more often.
Isn't it amazing just watching the talent? People are
Oh
so
my gosh.
talented.
Yes, and I have none of that. So I am enthralled watching people do what they do well, and just
Mhm.
really shine. And I am always amazed because, I can't sing, I can't dance, I can't act, but it's great fun to watch experts in those things
Yeah, it
do
gives us
that.
we have that sense of appreciation that they can do
Oh
it,
yeah,
something that we can't. So,
absolutely. Yes.
okay. Number 5, what advice would you give to your high school self?
Hmm. I would say not be so focused on becoming an adult and striving for a career. Like there's so much more out there, and it doesn't have to be this straight path, one step after the other. That's, kind of all I was focused on at the time. And life is different pathways and twists and turns and going in a way that you didn't expect or you can't control. And that really is like the best part of it. And I would probably give myself a heads up back in my high school days that to enjoy those things and look out for those twists and turns because really the best thing and the most fun and will serve me the best.
Yeah, isn't it so true? We tend to worry so much and be hyper focused on that career path. One of the phrases I like to use is where one door closes, a better one is meant to open for you. So keep your eyes up and keep a smile on your face. Otherwise, you're going to miss that awesome opportunity that's going to pass you by, that's meant to be for you.
Yes, yes. I think being focused and being driven and goal oriented is amazing. And I'm not saying don't do that, but don't make it your entire existence and focus. There's so much out there, and that's why it's fun to go on these different paths. And that's what, I feel more alive doing that, having those blinders on.
Yes. Yeah, we need to have fun and breathe each day.
Mm-hmm.
Find the joy in each day. Christina, thank you so much for being such a good sport.
Thank you.
Before we wrap up today, is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners?
I would say something that I've learned in my career thus far is you can be a leader well early in your career. There's no rule out there that says, okay, I can't be in a leader role or act like a leader or serve as a leader until I get to this so many years into my career, or I get to this certain level or job in my career. Like, anyone can be a leader at any stage. And we need that. We need that diversity of leadership at all stages and all roles. And so I would encourage people to look for those opportunities to be leaders. And even if you are a quiet leader, sometimes the loudest voice in the room is not the best leader. And so whatever leadership looks like to you is needed, and don't be afraid to have that voice, even if it's a quieter voice. That can be really effective.
That's great advice. Thank you so much. Yes, embracing those team skills, right? We don't need to be in a management position to be acting like a positive, helpful, kind leader to other people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Great. What's the best way for our listeners to learn more about you and reach out to you?
I would say, well, I'm on LinkedIn, and also my law firm website. It's bernsteinshur.com. And you can read more about me, about my firm on the website. Anyone, I'm happy to chat. If anyone has any questions or want to reach out, my email is probably the best way. So that's cferrari@bernsteinshur.com. That's also on the website. And give me a call at the office. I'm happy to chat at any time.
Terrific. You're so generous, Christina. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for being with us today and sharing your valuable leadership advice. You're a wonderful role model.
Thank you, Carol, so much. I enjoyed our conversation. I'm thrilled to be here with you today. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Listeners, you can learn more about Christina and Bernstein Shur at bernsteinshur.com. That's BERNSTEINSHUR.com. Thank you to all the business leaders listening today who are making their companies the best places to work. Be on the lookout for our next podcast and make today a great day.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Health Design Leadership Podcast with Carol Phillips. Be sure to click on the subscribe button so you won't miss any new episodes. To listen to the entire conversation with our guest, join our online leadership dream team at askcoachcarol.com. If you're looking for an engaging speaker for your next event or an effective trainer to strengthen your leadership team, contact Coach Carol today. Thanks again for listening, and make it a great day.